I'm going to be doing a painting with acrylic. I have my canvas out here. I have my paints. I have a phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, sap green, a cadmium yellow, gumbacher red, titanium white, and I have over here I have white gesso. It's a loose paint. It will actually flow, and we are going to get started. I have my water out there. I'm just using paper towels to clean my brushes along with water. I'm going to start with the liquid gesso. Basically, it's a loose white paint. Pick it up in any art supply store. I'm going to start right in the center. And basically, it makes it easier for my paints to flow. It also lightens up the colors, so I don't have to do as much mixing on my palette. I can do it right here on the canvas. I'm going to pick up, and I've got just a 1-inch brush, and I'm picking up just the corner with alizarin crimson. I'm going to start in the center. And if you start in the center and work your way out, your brightest colors are going to be there. If I do a sky, I'll start on the outside with my darker colors, bringing it lighter in. But I want my basic color, the brightest color, right in the center here. And I'm just working my way up a little bit. Today I'm going to clean that brush a little bit. Just wipe it off with my paper towel. I'm going to go back into my white gesso. The reason I don't do the whole canvas at once, you can do that if you wish, but once it dries, it will not work as easily to spread your paint. Now, I do have a mister, and occasionally I will mist it. That'll keep it damp longer to make it work. And I think I'll do that right in the center here too as well with the alizarin. Make sure it's a mist. If it's more big droplets, it will sort of separate your paint. So I am going to go pick up a touch of my phthalo blue mixed with just a touch of the alizarin. And I'm going to start up in the corner and kind of work across and go down. All right, I'm gonna clean that brush a little bit. Wipe it off on my paper towel so it isn't dripping. I'm gonna pick up a touch of the white gesso right in the center here. I'm gonna start blending the two together. In fact, I think I'm gonna get a bigger brush, make it a little easier to blend. I'm going to start down and work my way up. Now we got a nice pastel sky. Now if you want to make it darker, all you do is go back in, pick up a little more of that phthalo blue, start back up in the corner. If you like it the paler color, that's fine too. But you can add, as long as this canvas stays damp, you can keep adding, darken it, lighten it, even change the color up a little bit. Back into my big brush. And you see how much that darkened it. And like I said, I want my concentration to be more in the center, so I do keep it a little darker out here. I'm going to take a little bit of that same brush with the phthalo white. I'm going to mix them both on there. I'm going to pull from the sides over. Yep, let me get a little more of my gesso. And the reason I'm pulling sideways is if I decide to put water down here, I want to keep it kind of straight. If we decide not to do water, we can paint right over top of that. That's the beauty of acrylics. Once it dries, you can paint over it with any color you want. And you'd never know about the color underneath. All right, I'm gonna clean that brush. Make sure you clean your brushes or leave them sitting in water. If the acrylic paint dries on the brush, it will ruin the brush. All right, now I'm gonna take my big brush and even do a little bit of mixing right along that horizon. All right, let's straighten my canvas out. Wash that brush just a little bit. Okay. All right. The canvas is still wet, so I'm going to take a fan brush, and that looks just like what it is, just like a fan. I'm going to use the heavier white, the titanium white. This is a thick, heavier white. I'm going to load both sides of the brushes, and here I'm going to start, and I'm just doing little circular with the edge of it, putting some clouds in. Back to my white, maybe one here. And I'm going to take my big dry brush and kind of blend the bottoms, just using the corner of the brush, kind of do a little lifting and straight across. If you want, if you blend out too much, you can always go back in, put a little more on the tops, pick some of that out right here. I'm gonna build that up, maybe right here. All right, I'm gonna take a touch of that alizarin crimson, add it to my white. Maybe down here you can see the clouds as they get closer to here. They're picking up some of that pink color. All right, same thing, dry, clean brush, just the bottom. Kind of very, very lightly. All right, now I'm going to go back in just a touch more of the alizarin along with the white. Just darken it slightly. Maybe we're going to put some little stringy clouds in here. Pick up a little more white, maybe a little white on the top of them. Same dirty brush, and just picked up a little more white on the edge of the brush. Then my clean brush, just kind of pull that straight across. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go in the same dirty brush. It's still got the white in it. I'm just gonna go in some of my blues, mix it in with a little bit of that alizarin. Pick up a little more alizarin. I want it more of a lavender color, maybe up here. And I'm just gonna kind of tap some hills in. You can do this with your 1-inch brush. You can do it with the brush I have here, my little, just kind of tapping in. I just mainly want the tops. I'm gonna miss this a little bit. It's starting to get a little dry. I'm gonna take my big brush, kind of pull it down, follow the angles, the mountain. And you can see some of the alizarin showing through, and that's fine. I'm going to take and clean that brush. take my 1-inch brush, tap in some of the white, and I'm gonna kind of tap the base of this mountain. I'm not losing all the pink. I don't want to lose all the pink, but I want to form a little bit of mist on the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to take my bigger brush, the clean one, and just the corner, kind of tap it. I'm just tapping with this corner here, just tapping with the corner here. And then I'm going to kind of follow the angles. And I'm just forming a little mist. It's still a pink mist. Alright. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to pick up a little more alizarin, crimson, phthalo blue. Add it to that mix I had up here. But I'm darkening it. I just got a regular little brush. Maybe here. You can see how it's a little darker as it's closer. And I'm just tapping in another hill here. And I'm leaving some of this mist. I want to see some of that mist there. That's our separators. Okay. I'm going to take my bigger brush, pull down, follow the angles, the mountain. And then my 1-inch brush, go back in, tap some more mist in here. Climb up the mountains a little bit. Alright, that looks pretty good. I've got a few mountains in there. I'm gonna clean that brush. I'm gonna go back to my fan brush. This time I'm gonna go into some of the greens. Mix that right in. I can mix that right in with some of the blues. The blue is going to darken it, cool it down, but I want to keep it more towards the green side. I just want to cool that down a little bit. I'm going to add just a touch of white to it, not much. I don't want it too bright yet. And then with just the corner of the brush, I'm going to start tapping up and down, and it's going to form a tree line, leaving some of that mist in there. Run out of paint, flip the brush over, use the other side. Got a nice tree line here. I'm gonna take my big brush, figure out where my water is, pull down. And then come across lightly. All right, I've got one that goes low here, so I think I'm gonna come in here and put a higher one here. And this time I actually give it some form. And I can do that a little bit, and just barely touching down there. Give it a little pull and across. Go back in. Maybe there's one here. That's not as tall, but you don't need a lot of these. Just a couple here and there. It kind of lends the eye to think that the other ones are trees. Maybe a little taller one here. You can even do a taller one in the water, like a reflection. All right, let's pull that one out. You can even kind of zigzag that through there. All right, I'm gonna pick up just a touch of yellow in that mix, not much, still far away. And I'm just gonna kind of tap one. Let's pick up a little more yellow. There we go, that's a little better. So we've got a shoreline here. You can even pull a little bit of that down. It's a little darker. Kind of go across. I'm gonna take my knife. And, where is it? Right here. I'm gonna take and just tap into some of my gesso, a little bit on here, and kind of cut in a water line. Oops, the canvas keeps moving here, so let me hold it down. Let's go back in, touch that a little bit. So that's kind of our separator, our water line. You can even add a few water lines out here if you want. It's almost like cutting into the canvas. So, all right. As we come forward, let me find another brush here. Got a couple different fan brushes. I'm gonna go in some of the white, even a little bit of the pink, alizarin crimson. Since there's pink in the sky and purple here, I'm gonna kind of bring a few of these in, these pink lines. And just in the center area here, I'm gonna pull a few through. Clean that brush a little bit. Then I'm gonna pick up just basic white. I'm gonna put a little touch, just a touch of the blue in there, not a lot. And I'm gonna kind of bring that water a little more blue. I want a little more blue on there. Okay, I'm gonna kind of show some of that water. You can even bring a little bit of that in over here. But I want to keep the lightest lights right in here, right in the center. That's where I want my eye to go. Okay, I'm going to clean that brush, dry it off, lay it aside. All right, I'm going to come back into my greens. Still got a little touch of blue in it. Over here, I'm going to touch, and then you're going to almost do a zigzag back and forth. And you kind of, if you tilt it this way, back and forth, you can get some big evergreens coming out. Back into my paint. It's mostly greens. There's a touch of blue in there. And it gets darker as it comes down. Right about there. If it doesn't come off, touch the water, go back into your paints. And let's see, how about on this side we have one. We'll have a real big one. What this does is it kind of brings your eye into the center. And this is going to come down, flipping my paint, and I'm basically using the corner. And I'm tilting the brush left and right so that as you come down, and add a touch of water to my paint. It's drying out a little too much. And it depends on time of the year. Sometimes your paint will dry out more if you get a low humidity in your house. or wherever you're painting, or if you're out in the sun. All right, let's add a little more blue to that green. Mix up a little more. Let's give him a second one right here. And bring that on down. Okay, now let's bring some of that green out into the water. And you can even, let's see, here's the brush I want. I'm gonna take a touch of the phthalo blue and some of the, I'm gonna bring some darker, I'm gonna darken this corner. It's the phthalo blue with the gesso. Darken that corner a little bit. I'm even gonna mist it a little bit. I want it a little damper. My paints are, normally you wouldn't have to do that, but my paints seem to be drying out real good today. So, I'll clean that brush. I'm gonna grab just a touch of the white, kind of pull back in, and then I can kind of smooth those together. All right, now that I have that, I'm gonna bring some of that color down here. Not a lot, just showing that there's, I'm gonna grab it, pull, pull, then lightly go across. Let's pull a little more color right there. All right, I just want some reflections in it, the water. This one, I'm gonna bring some, I think I'm gonna bring the grass right down, cover up that whole corner. Make the light go off to this side. And this doesn't matter, it's just filling in dark, 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 dark. We're gonna come in and put some bushes in, lighten it up. All right, now that we have that, I'm gonna go in, pick up some of my yellows, touch of the white in it. Still have the blue, the green on the brush. I'm just mixing right on the brush. So I've got the yellows and the greens. Start over here and just add a little highlight on that tree. Same thing on the other side. Let me go back in. And if the paint doesn't come off, add a little bit of water to your brush. In there. And don't lose all the darks. Those are the shadows. You don't want to lose those. And darker, darker, darker as it comes down. All right, I'm going to clean that brush. And I'm going to pick up my 1-inch brush right off. I'm going to tap into the yellows. And I mean, I'm tapping in. I'm making that brush wide open, just tapping. I'm hitting the canvas, just like that. So then I'm going to come in, touch, and that's not coming off. I'm going to add a little bit of water, go back in, and I got a bright yellow bush right there. Go back in, I'm going to touch a little bit of the red into it, just to change the color. Don't want bright orange, but I'm going to, what I want to, maybe. Okay, I'm going to go into some of my greens. Okay, there's one here. Coming up. Maybe we're going to add some white to that. So I get out more towards the middle. they're even brighter. Over here, not a lot, just something around there. You can even pick up a little bit of that red color, maybe in there. You can even add a little bit of that to the water. You do that, you're going to pull down, lightly go across. And I'm going to tap into some of the greens and yellows. This time I'm tapping sideways with my brush, as I'm going to literally tap in some grass right along the bottom. Same here, a little bit of grass. I'm going to pick up some of the white and yellows. Come right in. Oops, I got a hair in here. Well, it stayed on my brush, so I've got some of that. We need a water line along here, so I'm going to tap into my white gesso. Put a little water line. If that water line gets too heavy, just keep working it a little bit. You can work it out a little bit. It'll blend with some of the colors around it. Maybe a few water lines down in here. I think we got a nice painting going here. Let's see if I can find my little twiggy brush. That's just what it sounds like. It's just a little thin brush. We can go in here, pick up a little alizarin, some green, or if you want, you can use some of the bright red. Mix it together, it makes a nice brown. Get a lot of water in it. I want it really runny. You can sit there and you're gonna turn the brush. And we can even pull up a few twigs. If you want, you can even drag one side through white, one side through brown, and that gives you a little light. You can come back in, do the same thing with some of your greens and your yellows. You can pull up a few weeds. You can play around with it. But I think we've got a pretty nice painting here. I'm going to add just a touch of the blue to that brown. And if you do that, you get almost a black color. This is pretty dry. I'm going to put my hand on it. I'm going to draw my little bird flying in. Go back, get ready, and sign my painting. And let's see, right here. Get a little more paint here. And I think we have a finished painting. I hope you enjoyed that one.